Maybe you set up on Lucas.
No, it told me that it couldn't start the Hangout, but it started this time.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome to day 2 of Angular Remote Conf. Our first talk today is Shai Reznik. He's going to be talking to us about you've been Jasmine given a second chance, and he said he was going to do his own introduction, but he did give me permission to say that he's the most handsome speaker at the conference. So I will just leave it there and let you take it away, Shai.
Awesomeness. Okay, let's see how we started. Okay. So, hello everyone. I can see the chat, so if you can hear me, just write it. Or if you can't hear me, just write it. Okay. Okay. So I can see that maybe people went to the wrong room. That is embarrassing. Okay. Cool. You can hear me, right? Awesome. So let's start. I will screen share my screen and you won't see me anymore. Let's start. Nice. Okay, guys. So we're talking about Jasmine Given, TDD, all the boring stuff you can imagine about testing. And here we go. Let's see. Okay. Awesome. So let's start. First of all, who am I? I'm Shai Reznik. For those of you who don't know, I'm a front-end developer for over 10 years. I'm an experienced consultant working with over 20 large-scale companies, and I'm a professional chicken teaser. So if you need it, you can book me. Okay, I run the largest JavaScript meetup group in Israel, and it's over 2,700 JavaScript developers. And yeah, I do lectures. So I teach people about web development and speak at conferences all over the world. And the next one is Angular Connect, which I'll be doing a talk with Lucas. So yeah, I'm very excited about it. So you should check us out if you're coming there or if you will see the video later. If you didn't see, I did a crazy talk at ngConf called ngWet. So if you didn't see it, you should Google ngWet and see it, which was super fun. And for a hobby, I do improv shows, and mainly for high-tech people. So you can see here like the background to do in progress, and we do a sprint and improvise sketches based on the crowd suggestion, and most of the crowd are high-tech people. So combining the two passions of mine, I founded Hi-Res.io, which is soon to be released from the long months of development, which is an online training website. Online school teaches front-end development, but with a twist. So you should join if you like to learn. So the goal for this talk, first of all, it's to convince people or to get people who don't test to test their code, and for people who do test, help them to make their tests faster. I should say that it's the first time I'm doing a Hangout lecture, so I'm not really used to it. So to simulate a real crowd, I'll use sound effects, okay? Because it's really like weird for me. So I have it like, oh, let's see, like this. Can you hear it? Imagine that you guys did it, and let's see, maybe. Okay, awesome. So yeah, let's say that you're excited about testing. Awesome. So if you can just high five the guy or girl next to you, okay? Just if there isn't anyone, just do it in the air, okay? And that's it. This is what I wanted to do as a warm up. Okay, awesome. So these are the goals. If you don't test, you should test, and you'll see why. And if you do test, you'll see how to do it faster. Awesome. Okay, a common reason that people don't test, they don't have the time. They see it as a waste of time. They see it usually as writing the same code twice. And New York Times, I needed a third time, so just edit isn't relevant to testing. Okay, the reason to do test is it's basically the most important reason, in my opinion, is that it makes your code super clean. So clean means that if you work in a team, other people can see your code, understand what's up, and fix the bug or add a new code without fearing to get fired. Okay. And another reason to do that, to test your code, is to catch bugs, which is the obvious reason. If you change the logic without changing the test, you will see a lot of errors. And it's safer for refactoring. So if if you do refactor your code, you aren't afraid of doing a major refactor because you got it covered. I personally feel naked without tests when I refactor my code. I have a naked picture of myself, but I've been told I can't really show it, so I will spare it. But imagine me naked. Okay, so this talk, what's this talk all about? We're going to talk about only unit testing, not end-to-end test or any kind of thing. So when I speak about testing, this is the context, unit testing. These rules will apply on unit testing. I will share my thought process, how I think when I write my tests. So you will get a glimpse of what are the consideration I think about and stuff like that. And this talk like when I first started learning about testing, I read a lot of books, and the one thing that really my biggest question was, what are the rules, right? What are the rules for unit testing? And no book could answer this question. So I needed to gather stuff from here and there to figure out an easy way to follow through. So I found it very valuable to have strict rules. It's the one thing that helped me develop the habit of writing my tests before my code. So, whoa, okay, what was that? I don't know. Okay, so this, like, I will share the rules I gathered. By the way, can you guys hear me? Just write in the chat.
Yeah, there's a few second delay between when you speak and when they hear it, so it'll be a few seconds before they start typing in the chat.
Okay, I thought it was disconnected. Okay, awesome. So I've been talking about the rules. So I found it very valuable to have strict rules, and I will share these rules. If you don't agree with the rules, you can find your own, whichever works for you. But strict rules are very helpful when you want to write tests. So another thing that helped me think about my test as a legal contract. So if you think about the test as a legal contract, you're committing to a spec. Like you get a spec of the feature you need that needs development and or refactoring or bug fix, and the test is like the lawyer who enforce the contract. So it's very similar that when you start working in a new job or as a freelancer, you commit to a project, you sign a contract, right? You get X amount of money and you should deliver a well-defined outcome, right? So why do you sign the contract if you're a freelancer? Because if you start, if you won't get that X amount of money, you will have proof that it was agreed upon and not made up by you. So the same thing applies to tests. You can see the spec in your test. You can check out new code that you didn't write and read the test and see what is the API or what are the rules that this code need to follow. And if it doesn't follow, the test breaks and the lawyer shouts at you. So part of being a professional software developer is understanding that every feature you commit to write is a contract. And it needed to be broken by another contract. So you change the contract, then you change the code. So it helped me also think about it this way. A pro tip, if you want to get like, most of you, I would think, I don't know, most of the people I meet really want to test their code, but they don't for some reason, okay? It's like the reason I said before, or the managers don't want to commit the time to do it. So a pro tip about like as a consultant, you can like sneak in one test, okay? Like if you start with just one test, pick one unit like controller or service in your Angular code, and just add to the sprint like one test that you need to write. Usually it gets the ball rolling. You can see like the flow and start to see the impact that it has when you start with one test and you feel comfortable with it. You start getting used to write it, and you begin writing more and more tests, and it doesn't take that amount of time. Like if you try to TDD your whole like new feature. So start with one test and add like to the build process the test runner. Like it should catch when the test fails. Okay, so I want to take a common use case that I see a lot, which is an existing code base of a project. Like say you started a project, you're working at a company that has like a project we started like a few months ago, and you need to add tests to it. And this is the barrier. When you start, you won't add the test later. But I want to take this use case and to show you that it's not really that of a big deal. And through this example, I will speak about all the tooling and all the conventions and best practices you need to know about to start your first test. So I want to take like an existing sample project and not just a to-do example. So okay, so let's see the code. Where is it? Wait, this is my show notes. Where is the wait? Okay, let's see. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay, so let's see the project. This is the project. Don't mind all the files. If you're not familiar with Yeoman and Gulp and all the stuff, you don't need to know about it. But picture, like, imagine this is your project that you've been working on like for a few months, and let's see it. Okay, and you see that wait, you see that we have the app, and let's see it in action. Okay, let's see how it looks like. Okay, so this is the product, which called failproducts.com, right? So this is just a generic logo company. This I like also, blah, blah, blah. And we have a product page, a really, really bad UX. You click on the show products, and it shows you failed products. Okay, products failed. So we have here soup for slides. We have here, wait. We have here like the Ebenhancer, and my personal favorite is this, because we don't have a crowd. Okay, awesome. So, okay, so this is mainly the product that we're been working on for some reason. We have a shitty UX because it's a shitty company, and it's a shitty UX because you need to press the button to show the product. But when you see the product, this is what it does. Okay, you can buy later these products for some reason or something like that. So back to the code base. We see the code base, and just another Angular app. Which we have all the main components, the main sections in the front, and we have a common folder for the services and stuff like that. So if we check out our, again, this website, we see we're in the product, and it looks like a product list. So I'm going to go to the product list, and I open up my template, and yeah, it's not that interesting, and I open my controller, and yeah, I see just a normal controller. This is the API at the top, like the style guide tells us to do, and we see that we have like 3 functions, 3 methods, and let's see the template. We see a button which call show products, and let's see show products. Show products gets the products now, get products, which returns a promise, and then we just assign the result to the VM.product. So this is the main API. Awesome. So let's see. So yeah, we hit that, and we see the code. So this is the basic code we need to add tests to. What do we need to do in order to test this code? Okay, so let's jump back to the Okay, let's jump back to the slides. Whoa. Okay. Okay, so what do we need to do in order to test this code? So first of all, we start, I don't know if you can see this like blank spot, but okay, never mind. The first thing, Okay, just see that you need me to increase the resolution. Sorry about the delays and stuff. I'm not used to this kind of talks. Okay, so if you want to test this code, we have the controller and we have this method, and it's really like a simple method, and want to test it. And basically, if we want to test our Angular code, we should test two things. We should test our controllers and we should test our services. Okay, why don't I write here filters and directives and stuff like that? Because I want you to get an easy start. And from my experience, usually you test this stuff the most because most of your application logic is in the controllers and in the services. So start with testing only this stuff. About naming, if you want to add a test, you just take your unit name, okay, your controller or service or whatever, and just add another file beside it with the suffix of spec.spec. And for services, you should add another file called the service name.spy. And we will see what spies are later on. And in order to test our file, our controllers and services, we need to use two main tools, Karma and Jasmine. So what is Karma and what is Jasmine? So Karma basically is the test runner, okay, who runs our test. And Jasmine is a framework that helps us write the test code. So you can imagine like Karma is the test runner, okay? It just like a browser, but it uses actually a browser, Chrome or Firefox or headless browser like Phantom, and it loads our code and the Jasmine code. So it first loads the Jasmine framework, and then on top of it our application code, and on top of that our Jasmine tests. So it loads everything, like you can think about it like script tags, and it shows us the results, whether the test passed or failed. This is all you need to know about these tools at this point. I won't get into most of their API and stuff like that. You have a lot of material about it. I will just focus about the relevant stuff for our test. So let's start with a dummy test, okay? So again, we have the show products button and we want to test it. So again, I'm going over the controller. If you see your code and want to figure out what to test, I'll see that we have here, you know what? Let's make sure we set up the tooling first. So we talked about Karma and we talked about Jasmine, okay? When you initialize Karma, at the start you have like this Karma conf. Okay. We have this Karma conf, and just a configuration file. We load, we see that we tell it to use Jasmine. We load all the framework code here and then our code, okay? We make sure we load our modules first, then the rest of the JavaScript files, and only after that, our spies, specs, and in case you need templates, the template. So this is basically the configuration, okay? You have quicker ways to do it, a lot of cool plugins and stuff like that, but to get you started, this is all you need to know. Just initialize the Karma config and just make sure you load your test as follows. Okay, so now let's talk about Jasmine. So
they're still saying the font size is a little small.
Okay. This is better?
Probably. It'll take a few seconds before they see it. So they'll hear this and then they can chime in and let us know if they need it bigger.
Okay, I'm not seeing the chat because it gets me distracted. So just let me know, okay?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So, so let's see. Okay, we have here, we have, wait, okay, we have this product list, right? And we want to add here our test. Okay, I'm trying to use this tool, but with no luck. So, like I said before, we should add here just another file called the same name, product list.controller.spec.js. And now, already the font size, we have just a blank file. Okay, in order to write our Jasmine code, you should know like 3 things about Jasmine, 3 methods you should use. And later on, you'll see you will need just 1 thing. So the first thing you need to learn about is the scribe. Okay, so the scribe takes a string which describes what we're going to test. And the second parameter is just an anonymous function which inside it we write our whole test, our whole test suite. So as the first rule, I always write my test. My first describe, I write the name of the unit. So if we'll split it. No. Okay, so we'll see it side by side. Don't worry, don't shout in the chat. I will increase the font. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we see that here on the right side, I will just close it here. On the right side, we have our controller, okay? And on the left, we have our controller test. So first of all, I always take the name of the controller. Okay, so I give it like this name. Let's close it for now. Okay, and this is basically what we'll see when we run the test. If something is failing, we'll see where it fails. So the second thing you need to know about is that you can nest this describe method. Okay, so if you need to write test to test your controller and you want to test every method at a time, you should you can add tests. So I want to test my method. And usually I have a convention at that point, okay? Usually when I want to test stuff, I test like, if I want to test my method, I write method and the name of the method. Another thing you need to know is inside your describe, to actually write a test, you write an it method, okay? And you write what it should do. It should test my code, okay? And inside of that, you write expectations. So you write expect true to be true, okay? So this is the whole API of Jasmine. I'm skipping ahead because we haven't got a lot to explain here, because this is the whole syntax that you need to know in order to write your test. So this is just a dummy test. You'll see it's not that we will delete it and write a proper test as soon. So I would just want to show you how to run this test. So if you're working with WebStorm, you can just right-click on your karma.conf. You will have here create karma.conf. It will create here a run configuration, and you should just play your test. What it will do, it will open up Chrome, okay, just as the engine, and you will see that our test is passing. If you don't have WebStorm, okay, you can find out how to integrate it in your editor of choice, but you can also run it from the command line. Just use the command line karma start, and it will start the test. Okay, so this is just a dummy test. Okay, we don't have here a lot. I want to explain some things about the conventions and stuff like that. So let's go back to our slides. Okay. Whoa. Oh. Just checking if everybody can see. Okay. So let's talk about the conventions. So when I look at my controller now and I figure out what to test, we saw before that we have the method, the public method that we want to test. So we should test basically two things: public API and collaborations. So public API is all the method and public variables and stuff like that, and collaborations. If you think of your unit meaning the controller or the service, a rule of testing is to isolate your unit. So you just test this unit's code and not the rest of your application. So we have public method and public variables that our unit exposed. And we have the dependencies, which usually in Angular are services. In other frameworks can be like stuff you inject to the constructor and stuff like that. But in our case, in Angular, these are services. So this is the public API, and this is the collaborators. Okay, so we test two things. We test the input and output of our unit, and we test the collaboration with other dependencies, okay, with other services, okay? And in order to do that, we need to isolate our unit. We'll talk about it a little bit later about how to isolate it from dependencies, but let's look about the public API for now. Let's think of our unit as a unit without dependencies, and we just need to test our method and public API. So yeah, so public API. Okay, I identified this is another strict rule. Okay, I identified like three things that we usually test. We test method, we test initialization, and we test handlers like event handlers and stuff like that. So the most common thing we test though is methods. This stuff repeats itself usually the most. Okay, so most of your testing will be around methods. Initialization is when you load the controller and you expect that upon initialization you will have the data you need for your template. And handlers is like dollar meet handler or something like so dollar on handler and stuff like that, or just a notification handler. But usually we test our method because this is the most common thing. So how tests look like? Usually when we think about test, we can divide it to three parts. We have the setup part, we have the action part, and we have the outcome expectation. So the setup is the initial conditions that you need to have before you call your method. The action is the actual method invocation, and the outcome expectation is what you expect that will be the side effects of this action. So if I call my function and the setup is that I have I don't know I like have like an empty variable and I call them the method, I expect that this method will throw an error. This is like a silly little example. We'll see an actual example. And you can think about these three stages as given, which is the setup, when, which is the action, and then, which is the outcome. And we'll see why we need to think about it this way. So let's write our first test. So going back to the code, okay, this is like you can think about this as like okay, you can think about this like as a really simple test to write. And now I will share my thoughts when I think about how I test my code. So first of all, what we want to do is to test one of our methods. Okay, we'll start with a method that doesn't require collaboration. Okay, so I see the first method. Let's see the implementation. Okay, get full product name. So what does it do? So it gets a product. If a product has an ID, it returns product plus the ID. If it doesn't have an ID, it returns no product name. So this is an example of an existing code that we need to test. So let's see just the template. I will make it bigger. Okay, so we use it here. Okay, when we display the name of the product, if we see the actual product, we see this is the outcome. Okay, the product and the ID name. This is just a silly example just to show you how to write the test. So jumping back to the test. Okay, so we have the describe, which describe the unit, and now we have describe and see here. This is the convention. Okay, when I write my test, I usually write with a convention that I start with the type of the text. Okay, so if it's an init, I write init. If it's a handler, I write handler and the name of the handler. Okay, so this is just a convention. Okay, okay. So we are starting with the method. So I take the actual method name and place it here. And now, so if you're using the it method that Jasmine exposed, you usually write stuff like it should get the full product name. But I don't really like this kind of, I don't know, test names, because it describes what you see, what the actual method name should describe. So we'll see later on that we can use a better convention. So, okay, so now let's think of the test inside our test in the context of the three stages. Okay, so we have the given or the setup, when, the action, and then the outcome. So we can delete this. And my personal preferences is to start with when. Okay. Okay, this is another pro tip. Okay, if you are confused about your test, always start with the when, because it's the easiest thing to do. Okay, so the when here and every time is the method, which is the easiest thing. So let's just take the method and okay, let's call it. Okay, so great. Now I jump to the then. Okay, what I'm expecting. So Jasmine exposes this API, which I can, like we saw before, I can expect stuff to be other stuff. So I want to expect something. So what should I expect? I should take the return value. I'm testing the return value. So I can like get the result from here, and I want to expect this result to be okay. So now I see the implementation. This is not TDD, this, which means test-driven development. This is test after. So I already have the code. So I see that if I get if I give it a product, okay, with an ID, it should return this string plus the ID. So let's initial a fake product, okay, with an ID of 1, and let's pass this product to just make it a little bit smaller. Okay, let's pass this product, and what we should see is this product plus ID. Wait a minute. Okay, we should see this is the outcome, right? So it's just a really, really silly method. Let's remove this, yeah. And let's see that our code runs. No, okay. Why does it do it? Because we don't have a VM. Okay, we have here a VM, which is the controller itself, a view model, and we don't have it here. So what we need to do, we need to somehow initialize our controller. Okay, so for this we use another Jasmine method called before each, which accepts a function. Okay, and in Angular we have two methods we use to load our Angular code. The first one is module, which in our case, if I look at the module application, the name is failed product. Okay, so this loads all of my application code. Okay, and the second thing we need to do is inject. Okay, so inject, it's the same syntax as you inject other stuff. Okay, like in your controller, it's the same like this. Okay, we can just inject here a special service in Angular called $controller. Okay, so let me add it here so we can use it. Okay, and we can't really inject it and use a different name. So this is a little trick we can do that Angular knows about. It removes the underscores and just give us the name, the correct injection. Okay, don't worry about it. You just need a controller. So the second thing we need to do, the controller service is the inner service of Angular that initialize the controller. Okay, so we can use it, okay, to initialize our controller. Okay, let's see, VM. Okay, it's really simple. We just give it the name of our controller, which we have here. Okay, and that's it. We have an instance of the controller. Another word about this is every time a good rule for testing is to keep your tests not dependent on each other. So you don't use global state. You don't rely on the specific order of unit tests to run. Meaning that you can't rely on a specific test to run and then set up some global var, and then you should use this global var. So luckily for us, Angular gives us a really, really simple two methods which basically initialized our whole injections and all application before each test. So before we run each test, we get a plain, clean Angular application. So we can ruin everything in one test, and we'll get a clean application in the other test. So this is why we need to run this before each method. Okay, so what it does is this code initialize our applications, our Angular context before each test, and this one inject and creates our new controller every time. So we get a new instance before each test. So now this VM is initialized and we can use it. Let's run our test, and our test is passing. Awesome. So we have a first working test. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so let's talk about Jasmine Given. Okay, Jasmine Given is, and this is the main part of the talk. Jasmine Given is a library that you just install using a bar install or npm install. You can install Jasmine Given. I can show you here, right? Bar install Jasmine Given, but I don't know if you will see. Okay, let's see. No. Okay, so this is how you install it. And this tool is really, really cool. Once you install it, make sure you load it in your Angular, in your Karma config, okay, before everything else, and then you can just use it. So it gives us an API for the given, when, and then. I reminding that the given is the setup, the when is the action, and the then is the expectation. So it gives us three methods, okay? The first one is given, which accepts an anonymous function, okay? The second one is when, which does the exactly same thing, okay? And the third one is then, okay? Which we wrote. Okay, so first of all, we can now just break our code into these three parts. So let's take the given part. Let's take the when part, and let's take the then part. Okay. So now now we can get rid of this it. Okay, and we have our test. Let's get rid of this remarks. We don't need it anymore. The only thing we need to do is to share these variables in our closure. So let's add this to the describe method and just remove the var and here, and let's make sure that our tests are running, and voila. Okay, so what is the magic behind this? Okay, so Jasmine Given gives us these three methods, and you can, if you want to map it to the regular Jasmine code, you can map this function and this function, the given and the when, as a before each. It's like this function, okay? It runs before every test. And the it function, okay, it's the same as this then function, okay? So we are given two before each method, okay, given and when, and we have the it method, which is the then. Okay, this is the actual test. Okay, so you can ask yourself, why should we need it? Okay, we already have the it. Okay, so first of all, it makes our test look a bit more easy to look at. Okay, we see the setup code, we see the action code, and we see the outcome code. But I want to show you another cool thing about Jasmine Given, which is its nesting capability. And this is the thing I like to to watch carefully. So basically, how Jasmine Given works is it aggregates all of the given, when, and then calls, okay? And it starts from the top. So you know what? Let's write another test before I'll explain. So we have this test, right? We get the we give it a fake product, and we get the outcome. Okay, let's write another test. Okay, so we have this method. So let's nest another describe and describe this the first test we wrote. And to describe it, instead of describing the outcome, I'm usually describing the given stage, the setup stage. So like full product, okay? Or what is the given, or a normal product, okay? Let's see. Let's stick with the full product, and I just nest this describe, okay, and full product. Okay, so let's run the test. We see that it works, and cool. Now we want to add another test case, okay, and in this case we want to test what if don't see, we don't give the get full product name the full product. So given an empty product. Okay, so I will just copy and paste to save some time. Okay, and now I'm gonna give it an empty product. Okay, and this is the same. And now if we look back at our code, we see that if we give it an empty product, it should return no product name. So let's just replace this with no product name. Okay, so if you look at it, we give our controller a null as a fake product, and we should get this result. Okay, so we run our test. And we see that it's green. Okay, so if I'm looking at this code, okay, this code and this code, given a full product name and given an empty product, we see that we have a repeating code here, which is the when. Okay, so the when is repeating in both of the tests. So we can just move it upward before the scribes and run our test. And it works. Wow, what's the magic here? Okay, so basically how Jasmine Given works, it aggregates all the functions, the given, when, and then, okay, and starts from the top. And when it encounters a then, it looks for all the givens before it. It runs them. So if we had here another given, okay, it will execute this code, and after that, this code, okay. Only then it aggregates from it executes from the start all the when methods, and finally it executes the then. So this is why this will happen before this, and only then the expectation will be executed. So this is the power of Jasmine Given. I see that we don't have a lot of time left, okay? So I want to move quickly to the rest of the slide. Okay, so collaborations, okay? If we look at our code, we see that in the show products method, okay, we have a product DAO, which is a data access object, which is a service, okay? So it calls its get products and returns a promise, which is an async method, okay? So this method, its side effect is to call this service, okay? And we need to now test it in our code. So first of all, let's minimize this stuff and add the describe with the same convention, and let's now test the show product. So, okay, now starting with the when, okay, which is the easiest stuff we can do, okay. When you call show product, okay, now we need to then we need to expect something, okay. So we need to get a result back, okay. So or not. Let's see the code. The code on success, we see that the VM.products get populated. So we need to test that VM.product to be some fake products we give it, okay. So let's just initialize this fake product. Let's doesn't matter now, doesn't need to be real product. And now we're in a problem, okay. We don't have this like access to products DAO, okay. So what should we do? Let's go back. Okay, collaboration. So we want to check out that we call the right API and causing the right side effects and basically controlling the flow. So these are collaborations. So always when we use like services and injections and other units that we are relying on, okay, we want to test their API, okay. We want to test that when we call our unit, this is another form of output, okay. It causes a side effect like logging somewhere or passing the message to some service or something like that, and want to test this behavior, okay, in our test. So in order to do this, we need to use spies, okay, which are we know as known as mocks or stubs or test doubles or whatever you want to call it. But and there is actually a difference between them. But Jasmine provides us with just one object it's called spy, and a spy is like a fake object that implements the method, but with an empty method that when you call it, you can configure it to return whatever you want it to return. Okay, we'll see it. So it has fake method. You can control the return result, and you can question the spies afterwards for how many times those methods were called and with what input. So if we see our unit again, okay, now we'll still just a few more minutes to close this point, and then we will be over. So we see that this is the public API and this is the dependencies, and we saw how to test this part, and now we need to actually test this part to control the flow, the return value, and also to test this method. So we just replace everything to isolate our unit. We just replace everything with spies, which are object with a function that doesn't do anything unless we tell them to. And another reason we do it is when we run our test, if we are depending on the real implementation of some service, and this service upon initialization calls the $HTTP service and call some server, we don't want to actually call this server or know about it. That's the reason we replace it with stub. So our test also tests the reports that the spies give us. So let's spy, okay? So in order to test this code, if we see again, we call this product DAO, we need to have this instance, okay? It gets injected here, but we need to make sure it doesn't get, in our test context, it doesn't get the real object. So we need to somehow replace it. So in order to do this, do full screen if you can see the screen, because I can't really zoom in here. We want to go to the implementation of this DAO, okay? And let's see, okay? And wait a minute, okay? This is the file, Okay, and I want to create here a spy. So just create a new file, call it the same name, but with a spy in the end. Okay, now it's an empty file. Okay, and for this talk, let's open up the DAO here. Okay, and this service is just a mock service, just doesn't really go to the HTTP, and it has like two methods. We'll focus only on this one. Okay, get product, which returns a service. So in order to spy on our product or replace it with a spy in our test, we use a really cool project that I just released called Angular Spies. Okay, you can bar install Angular Spies to your project. You can add it to your Karma conf like I did here, Angular Spies. Okay. And you can just use the API. The API is very simple. Okay, use Angular spy on service, and you just give it the service name. Okay. And now, if you want to mock or replace them, or create its method, you have two functions here, which gets like parameter list. So method and async method. So here we have an async method, which returns a promise, and a sync method, which returns a value. So this is all we needed to do in order to replace this object with the spy one. And now for our test to actually, let's close this. Now for our test to actually replace every time before each test, each of the tests, the real implementation of this service, we use the same syntax, but with an addition of spy. Okay, so instead of just an inject, we inject with spy. And now we can use the same like we did with the dollar controllers. Actually, we can do this. We'll add spy, so we know it's not the real implementation. And now we have this spy, okay? Because this spy, because now this spy has like, if I go back to our test, now this spy have a mock implementation or fake implementation of these two methods, okay? And because this method is an async one, we can actually configure it. Okay, we have access to its deferred object. If you don't know about, you should know about promises by now, but if you don't know, check out promises. It's really cool. So get deferred, you just pass it the method name, okay, and now you have access to the deferred object. So you can just decide what to do with this method, okay, when it gets called. So we want to pass it the fake product, okay. So now the last thing we need to do is to call, because it's promises, we need to call the root scope, okay, and we need to inject it like we did here, okay, and now in order to run it, because it won't run without an apply. Now, okay, what will happen is every time you call inject spy, it replaces the implementation of the real service, because it replaces by the name. Okay, so it replaces in the Angular injection pool the real service with our spy one, and then we can configure what we want to return. So we can resolve this promise using this API, and now we don't need to return here nothing. We just need to test that the VM products, if we go back to our controller here, these products will be actually the fake products we resolve, okay? So we just need to test these behaviors. So let's run it, and we see that our test fails. Let's see that our test fails, okay? Now it's failing, and now it passes. So awesome. So now we have an async test, okay, using given, when, then, okay, with a really simple way to replace these real services and to isolate our unit. Okay, I don't have any more time. I want to show you also how to TDD test-driven develop another feature, like how to, if we want to add a catch here, okay. But you can think of it the same way as we just wrote our test. You just write the test beforehand, starting with the when, jumping to the then, and then figure out what you need in the given. And only after you see the test fail, you write implementation. So let's close up, okay? I'll just run through the TDD process just so you know. So you write the test first, you see the red failing test. You write the minimal code you can do to see the green, and then you refactor your code to make it cleaner and make sure you still see the green. This is the whole TDD process, so it's not that scary. And the TDD way, when you start writing it and getting used to the syntax, you see that for new stuff, you write the test first. For changing stuff, you change the test first and then change the implementation. It's the legal contract. And for bugs, you always write tests to simulate the bug or the expected way, and then you write the code that fixes the bug. So this we want to do the TDD, but we don't have any more time. So to summarize, test just one unit in your next sprint. If you don't write tests now, just pick one service and add it to your time estimation and just try to test it. Use Jasmine Given and Angular Spice. It will save you lots of code and lots of time. And you see that I didn't see, but TDD is much like what I showed you here. It's not that scary, and you can totally do it. And if it's too short for you, join highres.io. I will launch with a new testing course that will really be shorter and much more concise than this talk. So thank you very much, and that's it for me.
All right. Well, we don't have any time for questions, so I am just going to skip that. But thank you, Shai. It was awesome just to kind of walk through the thought processes and some of the other things, tools and things that you can use to test your code.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Well, hang in there. We're going to have Lucas Rubelkey up next, and I'll click all the buttons, and we'll see you in a second.